In London, this is The Economist. It's Wednesday, October the 17th, and this is Babbage, a weekly conversation about technology. I'm Tom Standage, the digital editor.
And I'm Patrick Lane, the technology correspondent.
This week we'll be talking about SoftBank's takeover of Sprint, why PC sales are declining, and the technology of skydiving from space.
Well, Tom, even more activity in the US wireless market. A couple of weeks ago we had T-Mobile USA and Metro PCS saying they're going to join forces. Now we have SoftBank, a Japanese company, buying the number 3 player, Sprint Nextel. Quite a lot going on.
Yes, this is the number 3 in Japan taking over the number 3 in America. It's a rather daring deal. They're very different companies. SoftBank in Japan is actually mostly a .com, really. And then in 2006, they surprised everyone. I mean, they own chunks of Yahoo Japan and of Alibaba, which is China's leading e-commerce site. They surprised everyone in 2006 when they took the mobile arm of Vodafone in Japan off Vodafone's hands. Vodafone hadn't made a very good job of it. It was hoping to learn from the Japanese market. And everyone thought that was crazy, but they managed to turn it around. And so it looks as though Masayoshi Son, who's the boss of SoftBank, sees this as a sort of repeat. In the same way that he took on 2 larger carriers in Japan with this feisty number 3, he really wants to sort of replay that script again in America, where he will get a 70% stake of Sprint for about $20 billion.
Now, this is a godsend for Sprint, surely, because it looked as if it was going to be squeezed between T-Mobile USA and Metro PCS, numbers 4 and 5, getting together, and AT&T and Verizon, the numbers 1 and 2, who dominate this market pretty much. It looked as if it had nowhere to run, and now along comes SoftBank.
Yes, so this is a godsend for Sprint because people were talking about how soon they were going to run out of money just a few months ago. They're investing, like everyone else, in these big, expensive new 4G networks. So the theory is that together, SoftBank and Sprint, because they're both using the same 4G technology, everyone's using it in fact, they'll be able to have more clout with suppliers because they'll be bigger. Also, Mr. Son is talking about using some of the tricks he used in the Japanese market to enable Sprint to compete more effectively in America. So one of them was very advanced customer analytics, working out exactly what customers want, what offers to offer them to get them to stay or to get them to defect from another operator. And so he's promising to import some of those tricks to America. But there is some scepticism because it might have made more sense for Sprint to team up with another US operator because there would have been obvious cost savings. You can't, by merging a Japanese firm and an American firm, really save a lot of money in terms of back office or headcount. But Mr. Son obviously has quite a lot of work to do to convince the skeptics that he can succeed and repeat in America this turnaround that he managed to pull off in Japan. But announcing the deal this week, he said, "I'm a man and it's part of my male ego to strive to be number 1. So he's known as a gambler, he likes a fight, and he's certainly going to have one on his hands with Sprint. Patrick, let's turn now to PC shipments, which are forecast to decline for the first time in 11 years this year. What do you think this is down to? Is this people delaying purchases because of Windows 8? Is it the recession? Is it the rise of tablet PCs? Or was it all of the above?
I think it's all of the above. I mean, let's look at the figures that came out last week from Gartner and IDC, two of the big research firms. Gartner reckoned in the third quarter, PC shipments were down 8.3% on a year earlier. IDC's number was even worse, reckoned they were down 8.6%. And they were down everywhere. I mean, in the US, there was a double-digit decline, just down across the board. Now, to some extent, this was expected because, as everybody knows, Windows 8 is going to appear on October the 26th. That's only a week away, so distributors have been getting rid of old inventory. So everyone expected that would have some sort of dampening effect. Nevertheless, the numbers still look pretty bad. There's other things going on. I mean, one is you expect around this time of year what people call a back-to-school effect as students get new PCs or get new PCs bought for them, possibly. Well, that doesn't seem to have happened. Second, the world economy is not looking very clever. So even in China, where which has been an area of growth in the PC business, the market seems to be sagging. I mean, the Asia ex-Japan sales, which include China, according to Gartner, were down by 5.6%. So it does raise this question of whether there's just a short-term thing going on in the PC market or whether there's a real shift to tablets, or at least a shift at the margin going on. So it depends on whether you think tablets are really a substitute for PCs or not.
Well, so far, although they're growing very quickly, sales of tablets are actually a lot lower than sales of PCs. So might this also be smartphones, that's a computer you can take with you everywhere? If you've got some money to spend, maybe you're going to spend it on a fancier phone rather than a faster PC.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, let's look at tablets versus PCs at the moment. Yeah, PCs in the third quarter alone, there were still shipments of 87 million. Now, over the whole year, there will probably be, according to Gartner, about 120 million tablets in total sold. But the tablets figure is doubling year to year, and the PC number is in decline. So there's a question of what's going on there. There's also a question of what might be going on with smartphones. Now, of course, you can do an awful lot more with what you can carry around with you than you used to be able to. So at the margin, that will substitute for what you can do with a PC. And it might not cause you to get rid of your PC, but it might mean that you replace it a little less often. So it could be that what you're seeing is not fewer people owning PCs, but maybe people turning them over a little less often. My view is that this might end up in a situation rather like whether you own a workshop at home or not. Do you have a big toolkit and a workbench and a whole load of tools? Some people do, and they're able to fix things and repair things that other people can't. And other people say, I can't be bothered with any of that. If something breaks, I'll get someone else to fix it or I'll buy a new one. And I think PCs are getting to that point where some people want the complexity of being able to edit video. To be honest, you can do that on phones as well now. But if you really want to be able to do absolutely everything, then the general purpose tool that is the PC will be for you. But for more and more people, actually, these other devices like tablets and smartphones do pretty much everything they want to do on a PC already. Okay, let's get away from the desktop and the smartphone to space, or pretty close to space. Felix Baumgartner jumped 39 kilometres to Earth this week. Was he actually in space? Well, not really, no. Although the footage of him jumping out, he looks like he's in a space capsule. Yeah. You can see the curvature of the Earth and all that sort of thing. He's actually 39 kilometres up, which is not what most people consider to be space. That's generally taken to start 100 kilometres up. So he's 40% of the way there, but not actually in space. But of course, you do need a space suit and pressurised suit and oxygen supply and all that sort of thing at that kind of altitude, and that's why he's wearing this rather natty spacesuit. If you come back to Earth from a spaceship, remember the old command modules from the Apollo missions, when people had come back from space shuttle missions and so on and so forth, they need heat shields and need things to stop themselves burning up. So how come he didn't fry on the way down? I mean, it seems remarkable to most people that he got down at all, let alone in one piece. Well, the principal difference is that he was not orbiting. So in order to orbit the Earth, you need to be up in space, you need to be above that 100-kilometre line. In fact, the space station orbits at about 370 kilometres. So a low Earth orbit, you're a few hundred kilometres up, and crucially, you're moving very quickly sideways so that you don't fall and hit the surface of the Earth. So in effect, you're continually falling around the Earth, and that's what orbit is. That means that when you want to land, you have to get rid of this very high sideways orbital velocity, and it's essentially 28,000 kilometres per hour when you're in a low Earth orbit, and it's burning off that kinetic energy. That's what a space shuttle does with its heat shield and what other space capsules do. He didn't have any orbital velocity because he'd gone straight up in a balloon, and therefore when he jumped he went straight down. Although he went very fast, he went faster than the speed of sound and seems to have gone to about 1,300 kilometres per hour. His suit will only have heated up by a few degrees because he hasn't had to get rid of all of this sideways kinetic energy that a spacecraft would have to. So this is all very clever, but it doesn't mean that you can actually space dive from orbit. You would need a spacecraft to do that, or you would need at least a very much more advanced kind of suit than anything we can imagine now. So no jumping out of spaceships unless they're on suborbital trajectories. Well, that's all for this week. If you have any comments or feedback, please visit our Babbage blog at economist.com/blogs/Babbage. In London, this is The Economist.